everyone. So I wanted to take you behind the scenes of a few of my brand new students in the coaching program and a few of the questions they had and how to handle it. Hope you guys enjoy and plenty more of these to come.
Coming up on 3 years in the business. So, I'm up from last year. At this point, I'm up maybe, I don't know. I was looking at my volume, about 8 million. Last year was about close to 13 million. This year, I'm on track for about 21 million in close production. So from a business perspective, I'm up significantly. And what people are saying is a much more difficult year. I haven't really veered off of what I set out to do in the first place when I got into this business, was just to help as many people as I could every day, whether that was providing advice, guidance, or actually taking a transaction and, whether it's a buy, sell situation and executing on it. In terms of where I want to go, I'd like to continue, providing more value. I do have, like I mentioned to you when we first talked, I like the idea of helping other agents. So whether that's creating a team or maybe doing some type of mentorship or, maybe getting onto the broker side of the business. I am close to 3 years in, so I can apply for my broker's license. So that kind of stuff feeds my soul. It's not a monetary thing, but it's more about just feeds my soul. It feels like there's a lot of things out there that people getting into this business are taunted by. And also the other thing with all the stuff going on, which is new verdict with NAR, that's kind of shaking the real estate world. Just trying to see how that plays out, how I just, stay consistent and just keep focusing on what I can control and not all the noise.
Yeah.
So a mindset. I think the next year, there's a lot of, political stuff going on with election year, economically, rates. But then in terms of what we have as an industry, there's an overarching unbalance of what's going to happen to real estate agents. But I'm focusing on what I can control.
And I know I keep hearing you say that it's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's not about the money. I'm curious. So what gets you up in the morning? Like why even do the business? Because obviously you have to earn a certain amount of money to take care of your family the way that you'd like to, right? So like other than it sounds like if you never made another dollar than what you're making right now, you'd be pretty content.
When I got into the investment banking world, I did it for the money and I did it for the glamour. Although I did really well with it, it wasn't what made me happy, but it did put me in a good place where I was able to control my future. Worst case, if I didn't sell another house, either I could liquidate my portfolio, live off the money from that.
What's like the 10-year vision for yourself? If we go 10 years down the road.
So, it's interesting. I actually had a meeting with my broker today about this because, I was talking to him about like where I feel like, I've been invited to do a lot of panels and speak to people about my experiences. And I feel like that creates a lot of, it extends my network. And, the more people I know, the more value I could bring to clients and to people or to my causes. In terms of 10-year, it'd be nice I can increase the portfolio more. Some people think it's crazy, but I feel like I'm a pretty good landlord. And I like saying, okay, that's a property I have. And then from more of a personal level, making more changes in my community that are important to me. I'm an advocate for certain things that are important to me for children's special needs. My wife and I give us what we can to philanthropical causes, but it would be cool to maybe increase that. My wife's a speech therapist in the school, and she's very, very smart. And, someone like her, I think, is an asset to a public school. She can go somewhere else to make more money, but we talk about the difference she's making. So from a personal level, like being able to maybe take that experience and make more money and then maybe roll it into programs that we can provide to families. That's kind of something there.
I think that this would be a fantastic exercise for you to do, which is something called a letter to your future self, which is you basically saying on the beginning letter of the letterhead, you're going to write today's date, right? You're going to say, so today is November 9th, 2033. And today, and talk about your life from that standpoint of like, as if that's you 10 years in the future and everything that's occurring in your life, but be as specific and as clear as you can possibly be. Like how many units do you own now or square feet or whatever?
30. So about 11 properties, 30 units.
Great. So you're going to write okay, at this point in 10 years from now, how many units specific do you want to have? How many buildings? How much money on an annual basis are you giving to philanthropy, all these causes that you're looking to do? What's your annual income? Do you have another kid? Right. Right. But be specific, right? You want to be as specific as possible so that you can be clear, because if you say things like, I want to own more properties, or if I want to make more money, you can give $1 more, right? You could have one extra property, or you can make an extra $200 in income. You'd achieved all your goals, but you need to be specific. So it's like to get you to where you should be in the sense of like financial wealth, earning a few $100,000 a year like you are right now for the next 10 or 20 or 30 years of your life is a possibility. You can continue making pretty good money for the next every year for the rest of your life and be smart with your money. There's no question about what you can create. And I know that with a couple, not, I wouldn't say huge changes, but I'd say with a few specific things that we add to what you're currently doing and working on improving what you're currently doing, so we maxed out that capability, I think that making several $1,000,000 per year is in your future, by building a team and building up, having an online presence could be important. And I'm not saying spend endless time doing it. I spend, a few hours once a week doing it, and obviously you see that I'm on every platform you could possibly imagine with tons of content. Like, it doesn't have to take a lot of time.
Yeah.
I'd love to know, like, what would, if you can get one thing out of this, next couple months together, what would that be?
Get myself out of a shell, let my guard down a little more. Also, maybe share more about or experiences and accolades I've achieved and how it could be possible for anybody. I mean, I went into a market where completely saturated with real estate agents that were very, very successful. It was a long time, and I cracked it. I made the top 10. It was made gold my first year in real estate, worked through all this stuff, and just kind of kept my head down. I didn't do any, like, all of it was done just believing in myself. So I want to be able to, like, tell people, hey, look, you can do that, and granted, like, I come from a financial world and I have my own real estate and I leverage that. But to come from like that world to a sales world, it was hard, just me getting out of my shell and like, hey, just taking a different approach. I did it for my family. I did it so I could be home with my kids. And I did it because it was not sustainable for me to be in an office and away from my family. So I just, I ate humble pie and just put my head down. I think sometimes we get caught up with like how people perceive us in a society. I know my family was like, I was the first one on my dad's side of the family to go to college and graduate. Everybody was very proud of me working for a large investment bank. And all of a sudden, like, I'm giving it all up to be home, like a stay-at-home dad, and then try real estate, especially in COVID. Like, at that point, I didn't owe anybody anything. I just owed it to my children. So I put myself in that position. It was a lot of long hours and years of experience, but I want to teach people too, like, it doesn't happen overnight, but if you just keep grinding, you're gonna have to sacrifice. You're gonna give up a lot. So that's something to share. And I think if there's ways to like talk about that, to like grow my online presence, and I'll do it, do it in a humble way. Like, I've never liked to go out and say, hey, I bought this 20-unit building, and like, meanwhile, I got tenants who follow me on social media who are my friends. Like, I don't feel comfortable letting them know how much money I'm making, because it's like, I hear the story about the guy that showed up to collect his rent in a brand new car, and then the tenant stopped paying, and he had to evict him. And the tenant was like, well, you got a nice car. Like, I don't want to be that guy. I'm the landlord, I'm the operator, or I'm the team lead, but it doesn't mean that I'm any better than anybody. That's where I'm very careful not to have a different persona.
I believe there's a version of you that gets to step into this higher version of, like, this higher level, this new version of Steve, where you are able to speak freely, you are able to act freely, you are able to be the man that that you are capable of being, and then some, right? Really getting yourself out of your shell and not hold back, and know that, like, you don't need to live for other people's perceptions. As the strong man that you are today, what your self-worth is and why you do what you do, and it has the most pure intentions possible. So if someone decides, just like, I put all my stuff out there online, and if someone wants to come up with their own opinion about me, so be it. But I know what my intentions are, and I know why I do what I do, and I sure as hell want to make a lot of money. And I will tell anyone in the world that I want to make a lot of freaking money. Just like you were saying, I hope to God you make an insane amount of money, right? Like, because I know you're going to do good things with it, and I want to support people like you. And anybody who thinks otherwise, and they can say whatever the heck they want. Oh, he's like this, or he's flaunty, or he's whatever because he wants to drive a nice fucking car. I love driving my brand new Corvette. I don't give a shit if and I pull up all the time in front of my buildings. Like, I'm not going to live my life any differently for anybody, period. Right? I tried when I was younger. And the reason why I went through my depression, a lot of it was because I was trying to conform and be somebody different for other people because they judged who I was. Right.
Yeah.
And when I started owning who Henry is and living myself fully in every which way, my life changed forever. So be proud of who the fuck you are, man. And you can sing it from the freaking rooftops, and those who support you should be in your life, and those who don't support you shouldn't. But somebody like yourself, who has so much to offer this world and so much positivity to spread, social media deserves more of that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course. And listen, even if you just start by sharing your story about, like, growing up the way you grew up, and to getting to where you are today. Like that alone, right? And that's, again, you might not think it's much, but that alone is something to talk about, to show other people that you can do the same. Give yourself a goal of something that is easy to achieve on the online space for the next 30 days straight. Something super easy to achieve, and choose one platform, one post a week for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks in a row. And then you're going to do it to 2 posts a week, then 3 posts a week, right? Just something that's easy and consistent, where like for the next 30 days, it's super achievable. Like you're going to be like, of course I can do that. And if hypothetically 1 post a week is super simple and you're like, that's nothing, like go for 2 posts a week for the next 4 weeks straight.
Like an inspirational quote, or it could be anything, right?
I recommend a video. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. When I first started, it was just me with my phone. You could even just use your phone with a little tripod and just record sideways and put it on social.
I have to push myself through. It's a goal, is getting through that paralysis analysis, because I'll be thinking about these great ideas and I'm like, I should do a video like that. And then the day gets away. But that's another thing that I want to get my mind right.
Just like, do you set aside time to hang out with your family, make prospecting calls, do all that?
And my family, yeah, 2 set times aside every, like I have a whiteboard in my office here at home. I go through it and I just, kind of circle back with people I'm working with now.
So let's talk about listing appointment. Do you book a listing appointment and you know for a fact that that's booked on your calendar, correct? Yeah. Do the same thing with content. I'm booking, like I have an appointment every week at the same exact time for my content. Make it easy for yourself. Literally set up a camera with a tripod, literally in the corner of the office where you know that like it's already set up. I literally just have to sit down and press record and I'm good.
Say the right things and just keep going.
Yeah, and just know that, like, listen, dude, like the content that I've been putting out has gotten better over time. It's just like your first listing appointment, you might blow it, but you're going to have to do one eventually. You post one and it might not be the greatest thing in the world, but you can't get to your 30th video without doing your first. Same thing like apartments. Like you can't get to your 30th apartment without buying your first. And your same thing with you, kissing your wife. Like there was a first kiss and it may have been freaking awkward. And it's like, I don't know if I want to do that again, but like, you get better at it. So it's just, don't beat yourself up so much, because I assure you that like your content will be received well, or better and better over time.
First and foremost, this is a foray into real estate. I've been wanting to do it in I don't know, for ages, right? But what was preventing me from doing it before was I was super successful as a managing consultant. IT just did it so well, but it kind of has like a bottleneck essentially. Like you're still working hourly and you're not working on commissions and all this other stuff and whatnot. And your time is really there to, you're on their dime. So nonetheless, I got pretty much torn rotator cuff and said, needed to do this like kind of rehab. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I can't actually do this work anymore. There's just no way for me to go to the rehabs and still have the time commitments. The level of management consulting, I would say I would be about a VP level, thereabouts. So managing like 5 teams, 500, like 100 people, thereabouts and that. So my time is really constrained because I've got these teams to manage and take care of. Moving over to the real estate side, I've really been wanting to do this since my early 20s. It just never, I've always been so successful at what I was doing. It made no sense to go the other route, right? So I just said, when time comes, I'll do it. Time came and I did it. So here I am in a beautiful spot where I'm blessed with so much financial opportunity to just essentially build this business. I'm not going to have to use the income. Don't need to worry about it. I want to build it for the long haul and to have employees and to build something big, beautiful, build legacy, etc. Both in, kind of the hybrid model, residential, commercial. And I'm a blank slate. I am essentially a very learner, coachable, malleable, if you will. I just want to leverage someone that's already done it before and that can help me do it, since I'm essentially a rookie and I have no idea where to go, other than the fact that I'm enthusiastic and I have all the time in the world right now. So there's nothing on my schedule. There's no downward pressure with finances, any of that stuff. I can make the investments for marketing. I can make the investments in technologies. I don't have any biases or any kind of, hey, I'm using this software or that software, etc. One of my buddies owns a brokerage and he's really successful. And he said, he gave me a different perspective when he was talking about homes, and also you can add it to businesses, that this is a very big part of somebody's life, whether it's commercial property or a home. You're facilitating something that is meaningful to them, extremely meaningful. It's either taking care of themselves as a business, or it's where they sleep at night. And it's where all these memories happen. Like maybe it's the first time their kids get born. Maybe it's all these things. I don't take this lightly either. So I want to provide that exceptional customer service and support, being able to build it in such a way that it can scale. The motto is to help people at scale. That's kind of what I want to do. So I'm all ears. I'm all just, wanting to just be humble and leverage your expertise. Don't know too much about how to like really break into the commercial side. Don't even know much about the just realty in general. And I think that's a benefit too, because I'm not going to have any kind of stumbling blocks. I'm just, so green that like it's a green field for me. Like you get to cultivate, and I want to also let you know, like I'm here to execute to whatever you tell me I do. I want to be like the success story, not just any success story, but the success story for you.
So what would feel like a holy cow, unbelievable, so happy that we achieved this type of goal that you'd like to achieve before the end of the coaching sessions together?
And first and foremost, I know I'm going to probably be in year 2, 3, 4, even when I'm successful, because I have made that maturity shift of saying I need coaching and I need it all the time. It doesn't matter how good I get. So that was one thing. But in terms of this first year, I would say that if we were, just to replicate income wise, like I'll give you kind of the middle path and then the happy path, like the ultimate. So middle path would be about, multiple six figures, like 250,000 thereabouts. So it would kind of be replicative of what I was doing before. 250,000 thereabouts is in terms of where I'm at. And that's actually pretty high. I understand I could make years where it's like 30, then 250. Ideally, seven figures, and I'm really in the place of being able to manage employees. Reason being is I'm really good at that. That's what I just did. I was managing 100 people, really exceptional. I was taking teams that were underperforming and making them perform, and just commonsensical things. But unfortunately, reality is common sense isn't common, and basically taking care of people isn't. You expect it, but it's never ever there. Go ahead.
So I hear you say around 250, and then again, your intention this year would be to broker out 250K plus worth of commissionable deals. Sounds out okay. So let's break this down a little bit, right? So where you're based out of where again?
So Peyton, Colorado, which is about 15 to 20 miles east of Colorado Springs.
In regards to the commercial side, because I know you mentioned commercial and residential, are you looking to push on both, or what's the vision ideally?
Just to get started, like I guess that's kind of like where I would want some direction from you. I know that you had a hybrid model to begin with, if I'm not mistaken. To an extent, like where should I be? Obviously, I don't want to be that way always. But I'm willing to be flexible initially to get this ball rolling. I was just saying, I'm just flexible with the approach. If we say like just focus on commercial, okay, well I'll focus on commercial then.
Yeah, so I'll say to you like this, right? Like I joined the residential world because I don't feel like I knew better. Essentially, it was just kind of all I knew, and jumped into it knowing what I knew, which wasn't a heck of a lot. The only mentor that I could find at the time was a woman who focused on REO foreclosures. I mean, this was back, almost 10 years ago. So that's sort of where I started, right? And didn't make a heck of a lot of money, but it definitely taught me a lot of things, and I'm glad it happened. But looking back, I don't think I'd ever get into the residential world again. Ever. And right now, like I do, I have a partnership with an agent where like I just give them 100% of all my deals, and they give me 95% of the cut. I just don't want to, but they manage 100% of it. They field all the phone calls, they deal with everything, and then they give me referral fees on buyer leads that we get from it's not my focus. Like I just refer 100% of it out to my team that I've built around it. I want zero to do with the residential side at this point in my career. I built it up to over 100 transactions a year on the residential side only, and it's exhausting. And the commission amount where I'm based out of, which is Jersey, even though I'm living in Miami right now, the commission amount was like 12 to 15K. And it's like, it's really nice to make, $1.5 million a year, but you need a lot of staff. You need like to do 100 plus transactions a year. It's a very heavy overhead business. Scale wise, you're doing a massive amount of volume to make several million a year. On the commercial side, it's like we do somewhere between 3 and 8 transactions a month, but the commission checks are on average somewhere around 190, 195, 185 range on average, right? So there's a lot more scalability. My first goal is to hit 100 transactions a year, to scale through a couple of different professional partners where, I basically partner with agents, scale out their commercial sales teams. I have my own commercial production personally as well. Right now with, 20 plus salespeople right now, it's like we do a few $100 million a year in deals, even though not a lot of it's in my name. It's like I let it close in other people's names, and I get my referral check of half the commission, right? Mm-hmm. So my next goal is to make 20 million a year, right? I want to make $2-ish million a month net, not just gross. Like that's where I'm trying to get in the next probably 1 to 3 years. We'll kind of see as the market kind of shifts a little bit. Obviously it's a little bit more complicated with interest rates at 8%, but we're still making it happen. Just know that I would probably focus all of your time and energy on the commercial side. Just because in my mind, it's like if the number one commercial agent team wise, right, is doing 500 to $1 billion in deals a year, and they make, gross 10 to $20 million a year gross, right? And gross commissionable sales, maybe.
It's like you couldn't do that residentially. Like you'd have to have the most ludicrous transaction.
Yeah, like they have hundreds of agents is my point to do that. So on the commercial side, you can do billions in transaction volume per year with a fraction of the amount of people. I didn't realize that until I got into the world and I saw it for myself because I didn't have people guiding me through that. The only mentors I've really had throughout this entire process has really just been my clients, my very successful investor clients, and basically just finding them product, and it kind of built into what it is today. So that would definitely be my focus, being like commercial only. There's that's the driver. And if a couple halfway decent, if houses ever come along, you refer them out, or like I look at residential as the only reason why I will ever list or be a part of a residential transaction is because I'm buying it. Right. That's it. Like I'm not doing that.
That's what I was worried. I was like, man, you can get into these like time sinks with like the real residential side. I mean, somebody wants to look at a house. Who knows if you have to show them 10, 15 houses? That takes time.
It really does.
There's
and it's like even the deals
residential or commercial.
Yeah, it's not even close. Like, and I'm in Miami and I can be remote to deals that I close in Jersey because 95% of my business is Jersey right now because I'm still building everything out in other states. So it's like I'm able to do it remotely where like I don't have to go show a commercial property, right? Where which is not common at all in the residential world and probably not common in the commercial world either. But I have more flexibility and scale when it comes to the commercial world. And like even just doing smaller commercial deals, it's even like I don't even know if I want to touch something that's less than $1 million or $2 million because I'm only going to make X amount of money. It's just not really worth my time. I'd rather spend infinite amount of time on bigger and better stuff. So that's one. Number two, in regards to us achieving those results, like getting you on you ever read Patrick Bet-David's book, Your Next 5 Moves?
No, not yet.
So do you know who Patrick is? Yeah. So love him to death. Awesome dude. I was literally just listening to a podcast before he jumped on while I was working. Anyway, so he talks about your next 5 moves, which is like really building out sequences for when you should be doing certain things, and doing things out of sequence is going to dictate a different result in life. Like sort of just like, best way to look at it is sort of like you're dating a girl, you have kids before you get married, and then, too fast. And then you realize like, oh, wait a second, this person wasn't the person I actually want to marry, but now I have a kid. And you're like, oh wait, I did things out of sequence. So it's like in the business world, it's just, you end up making less money and it takes you longer to achieve a goal, right? In regards to, the steps in order to achieve a result, you said making multiple 7 figures was the goal, correct? So multiple 7 figures per year is probably somewhere in the vicinity of 20 to 40 transactions a year is probably where you'd be at a net $1 million range. You're probably going to have one transaction coordinator who manages things at a full-time position or pretty much full-time position, somewhere between 40 and 65,000 a year. You're probably going to have one agent who does a lot of your running around, showing properties, dealing with a lot of the hands-on stuff for you, probably also paying them somewhere like a 40 to 60K base plus 2 to 10% of the commission amount of the deals that he's actually going to manage and deal with. That'll probably leave you, again, with 2 support staff, essentially, and maybe 1 executive assistant, depending on how actual amount of work or, depending on what your day, you want your day to look like. You'd have a third staff member, which would be an executive assistant. Again, it's somewhere between 40 and 65 a year, depending on your location. So with 3 staff, probably somewhere in the vicinity of around 150 to 250,000 a year in cost, not including anything extraneous, you should be able to net out $1 million a year, if not more. That is, somewhere in the vicinity of a 2 to 5 year plan. The fastest way to get there is, I'm going to kind of break this down for you. My biggest thoughts in this process is number one, do it for yourself, which means don't hire anybody and learn the process you alone of the lead generation process, you pounding phones, you doing your marketing, you doing the things that generate the business. Like Alex Hormozi, I was actually just talking about this book on another training, $100 million leads, great book. He talks about in this book, something called the core 4, right?
Yeah.
Core 4, break it down for you. There is only 4 ways to generate leads on your own personally. And then there's 4 ways that, you can have leverage to do those core 4, essentially. The core 4 is broken down. And I really think this is, I love the way he explains this. So I kind of just like to recite from the book a little bit, which he talks about how you can either do warm or cold outreach. Okay. Break it down into 2 categories. And then each one of those are broken down into another 2 categories, which is warm one-to-one, which is you reaching out to your sphere of influence. Okay. Your database and your phone book. Then you have warm one-to-many, which is you posting on social media, you reaching out through, doing free content on social media, you reaching out to your audience, your network through a platform, which is one-to-many. Then you have cold one-to-one, which is cold email, cold DMs, cold calling, cold outreach one-to-one directly. Okay. And then you have cold one-to-many, which is you doing any type of paid advertising. Because a lot of people, like I'm sure you see from my content, I love cold calling, right? I'm a big cold calling guy. What's interesting is you can choose any one of those core 4 and commit to being the best in the world at it. I don't care which of the 4 it is. Doesn't matter. I chose cold calling. That was my one thing. And I said, I'm going to commit to this, become the best in the world, or the best that I can possibly be at it, right? And master this one thing, because then you can start layering the other pieces. It's obviously very hard to become the master of everything. So I would recommend that you focus on one of those 4 things. Choose one of the core 4. You can do any one of these things. I don't care what it is. I mean, do you have anything that maybe speaks to your heart, or you feel like maybe something that you could do better than most already?
Probably social media, but I know that's kind of like I wonder if maybe it's just too saturated, but I guess I would have to figure the better angle for it, right? Like the kind of content strategy.
So if social media, like we could talk about social media for a second, okay? For social media, if social media was going to be like, I'm committed to this, I'm going to be the best in the freaking world at this, right? And then your content would be, you'd need to be doing 100 minutes of content a day.
Okay.
Creation wise and posting wise, 100 minutes of content every day.
Yep.
Which means, and on multiple platforms, right? Across multiple platforms. So I'd recommend that if that is going to be something you're going to focus on, which is great, I would try to find maybe 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5 people in the space that you'd like to dominate. But that could be one thing, right? Like, and don't get me wrong, I would focus on that thing and and realize like if you chose cold calling, if you chose your sphere of influence, if you chose paid advertising, whatever it is, just know that you're going to commit to doing this for the next 24 to 36 months straight. It's like if you chose cold calling, like whenever I'm working with somebody, I'm like, you're going to be doing this every day, 400 dials a day, every day for 2 to 3 years. So it doesn't matter what the results look like. It's just, you're going to like not only that will help you get better because it's like, the repetition piece, but it's also regardless of what you choose, it does not work immediately, but it does work consistently over time.
When it comes to that, are we like essentially saying 1 out of 4 and then not touch any of the 4? Because sometimes like I would think that like, for example, on the social media side, if you boost posts or if you do that, it's kind of like getting in the advertising bit, but you're not really, you're just like, I guess, kind of doing a little bit of both there. So I didn't know if that was kind of something that.
So I'd recommend this. Lead generation is lead generation. If you're doing 100 minutes, which is just shy of 2 hours, call it 2 hours of social media content, you still have 8 to 10 hours of your day left. So I would take 2 hours aside every day to do social media from maybe 12 to 2 o'clock or 2 to 4 o'clock every day. But know that or even do it before you get to the office or after you get home from the office, right? Like it doesn't have to be there, right? Wherever you have that time to do it. Yeah. And then take your 9 a.m. to 12 noon and pound phones. Get on the phone. Like we use a software called Reonomy, and we use Mojo Cells as our dialer. We export lead lists from Reonomy into the dialer, and we're calling lead lists all day long. It started out with just me doing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 calls a day. Every day, you're going to generate some opportunities. Maybe it's 1, maybe it's 15 leads, right? Maybe it's 0, and then it's a law of averages. But it's like every day, our main goal is to become the best deal sourcing agent on the planet, because the only people who make money in rough markets, the only reason why we make great money during these downturns and most agents don't, is because I think like an investor. And I work like an investor.
Deal when it's bad. Yeah.
I do great when it's bad. I love when the market collapses. I didn't feel that way beforehand. When you think like an agent, it's like the market collapsing is terrifying. However, as an investor myself, I love when the market's doing terrible, because then we buy better deals, right? And our goal, like yours, like anyone in the commercial world should be, we want to find the best opportunities for our investors. So every day we go out to hunt for great deals. Essentially, the goal then is, throughout the trainings, you'll learn, we can talk about whatever piece you need to, whatever you feel like you need to hear today to make sure you get some value right away. I want to make sure we talk about it. But the goal here is that you then take those unbelievable deals that you come across or that are sent to you or referred to you, or, you generate yourself, and negotiate the best possible deal you can, structure the best possible deal you can. And then you can easily bring it to investor on a silver platter and say, hey, here's deal at 123 Main Street. they're looking for X price. You're going to get X type of return, like exactly like you're looking for. And it's going to feel like the easiest sale of your career. This is how we move very rapidly. What questions do you have so far?
Well, I just wanted to just kind of get like a validation on if I understand this correctly. We are being the person to facilitate the deal essentially to the investors, so that like we're bringing it to them, presenting it to them, and if we've done our due diligence, said, hey, you can get it at this price, and here's the numbers I've run, I've done the analytics, then it should be like simple to sell, because investors are going to look, oh, okay, first of all, you did do the analytics correctly, and second, they're just going to look at like things like the rate of return, cap rate, etc., and be like, oh, okay, I can make this amount of money with all my money, and that's it. Where would you put your focus? Like, would you go back and review all the old live calls? Would you just start from where you're at, and just go forward?
Yeah, I'd 100% focus all my time and energy right now. If I'm you, literally just get into a lead generation state. Like, you need to be a madman in regards to lead generation, and just jump into the training next week. Don't worry about what, you don't have to watch all the rest of them. I think it's good. Like, if you miss it, that's why we record it. Of course. Well, listen, awesome session today. Looking forward to continuing working together. If you have any great deals that you come across and need support on, or if you need any support in general, you can just email us at info@henryeisenstein.com. It's the best way to reach out. And other than that, we'll see you on the trainings on Wednesdays.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, man. Yeah, take care. Bye.